Hey everyone, today I want to talk about The Nightmare Room, book number 3, My Name is Evil. Now, in this book, our main character Maggie, she's just turning 13, and she and her friends go to the carnival for her birthday. And they go to a fortune teller, and they have all of their fortunes told. And Maggie's friends are triplets, and their names are Jackie, Judy, and Jilly. And they have all of their fortunes told, and this three sisters go first, and the fortune teller's predictions are surprisingly accurate, or not so much predictions, but she kind of tells each of them what they are and what their interests are and things like that, and she seems to be like she's the real deal. And when she gets to Maggie to read her palm, all she sees is evil. The fortune teller like freaks out and starts screaming at Maggie and tells her to get out. And she's a little bit shaken up by this, so she and her friends leave, and they try to blow it off and say, oh, it's no big deal, she's just an old crazy woman. And as the book progresses, bad things start to happen. Ever since they leave the fortune teller, weird and bizarre things begin to happen. People around Maggie start to get hurt, and she starts to wonder if the fortune teller was right. Is she really evil? Does she have some kind of unlucky like aura around her now that she's 13, or does she really have some kind of evil powers? Like, what's going on? So yeah, that's pretty much the focus of this book. So I was really interested in this one starting out. I like the first half of this book. It has some interesting character dynamics with the triplets. It's something that I feel like we haven't really seen too much of in R.L. Stine's books. And you really do get a good sense of their friendship with one another. They're very good friends. They hang out a lot. You know, there's the usual like banter and joking around with one another. And you do get the sense that Maggie has a good relationship with these three sisters. And it sort of establishes this. And then it also kind of establishes in the first half Maggie's like paranoia about seeing this fortune teller and these bad things that start to happen. So some of the bad things that happen, I'm going to try to remain kind of vague. I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory, but I will share a couple of things. So some of them are very bizarre and kind of like almost cartoonish. Some of the other bad things that happen are very dark and serious, and like some of the characters get injured even. So one of the things that happens, one of the earliest ones, is one of Maggie's friends from school is mowing her lawn. Her mom had this kid from school, or she paid him to mow their lawn for them. And Maggie, she kind of has a crush on this kid from school, and she wants him to hurry up and finish mowing the lawn so they can go hang out. And as she like thinks this, the lawnmower starts going crazy and like is like ends up running away and moving super fast, and the kid can't control it. It's a very goofy, very bizarre scene. And this is one of the points where she starts to wonder, you know, like what's going on. And then a more serious incident that occurs still pretty early on is Jilly, one of the sisters, is accidentally pushed down the stairs by Maggie. And Maggie doesn't push her, doesn't really hardly even touch her or anything, but she like falls down the stairs, and she blames Maggie. She thinks that she was pushed, and she ends up getting kind of hurt and like sprains her ankle. So yeah, that's kind of the main focus of this book. Is there's just this sort of snowballing effect of unlucky events and people getting hurt and bad things just continuously happening throughout. And right away, there's like a lot of emotion to this kind of, and obviously Maggie is very upset. She's trying to figure out why these things are happening. She wonders if the fortune teller was right, if she really is evil. And it's kind of heavy at times, and it does sort of work. You do really feel some sympathy for Maggie. And the sisters at first, they kind of feel bad for her too, because she's like beating herself up. But as these things continue to happen, they start to sort of flip on the issue, and then they start blaming Maggie. So in the second half of the story, Maggie is sort of like ostracized by her peers, and becomes sort of an outcast. And again, it's kind of emotional. It kind of works. I was definitely interested. But I feel like the story started losing its steam in the second half also because there's really not much else happening. There's not much progression to the story. It's just sort of these bad events happening one after another. Now, this book reminds me a lot of Son of Slappy from the Goosebumps Slappy World series, where in that book, Slappy has like these mind control powers and he's making this kid, the main character, do all of these bad things and he has no control over it. And it just keeps happening and happening. It just sort of ruins his character and everyone starts blaming him for these bad events, which he is the cause of. And this book is very, very similar. It's pretty much almost the same exact case in here as what takes place in Son of Slappy. And things do get really bad in here. Like I said, characters get injured, people get hurt. Rumors start going around. People start accusing Maggie of being a witch. And the situation just seems sort of hopeless, helpless. And yeah, again, I feel like it started losing steam for me in the second half just because of the repetitive nature of it. The story really felt like it wasn't progressing at all. And then towards the end, towards the very, very end, within the last couple of chapters, there's the big reveal of who the culprit is, what exactly is behind these evil powers, so to speak. And then the resolve also occurs like at the very last minute, like within this same chapter, that the reveal is taking place. And it all happens very quickly, very abruptly. And it just a very unsatisfying ending, honestly. I don't know what else to say about it. I was just kind of disappointed with how things turned out at the end there. I think we should have gotten the twist earlier. The twist, or the big reveal, I should say, I wasn't really a big fan of to begin with. There were no clues leading up to it. You could argue that there were kind of a couple clues, and they were sort of pointed out in the book towards the end, but they still didn't really make sense. There wasn't really a lot of logic behind who the culprit actually is and the explanation behind everything. It was sort of just forced in there. It felt like it didn't really feel natural. And the resolve, again, just very quick, abrupt. It wasn't the most convincing thing in the world. And I just was really losing interest by the end of the book. I didn't care as much, unfortunately, how things turned out. And it was just a little bit of a disappointing ending. And this book had a lot of potential, I feel like, because I was really enjoying it early on. I really liked this whole concept of the main character, like, having her identity being, like, destroyed, basically, and losing the respect and friendship of her peers. And, yeah, it's got some good stuff in here. Again, I like the concept. It's emotional at times, but it just was too repetitive, and the ending just was not very good. So, again, if you've seen my review for Son of Slappy, very, very similar. But, yeah, this book was just okay, I guess. I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Far from being my favorite Nightmare Room book so far, but also far from being my least favorite. So, I feel like there was some other things that I wanted to say about this book. Oh, yeah. There's one sort of, I don't really know. I don't want to call it a plot point. There's something that happens in this book that isn't really revisited later, and I thought for sure it was going to play some kind of role in the story. So, in this book, it's kind of implied. It doesn't really state, but it's kind of implied that Maggie's parents might be divorced, or at the very least, they're separated. And at one point in the story, Maggie's father calls her to, like, wish her a happy birthday and talk to her and things like that. And he says he's going to send her a present and to, like, be waiting for it. Like, you know, you're going to be surprised by this birthday present. Like, just wait till it arrives, or something along those lines. And the connection is kind of bad on the phone, and they end up hanging up. And this is introduced, I don't know, a little past the halfway mark in the story, I believe. And it takes place around the time where Maggie is convinced that she does indeed have some bad luck or evil powers or something of that nature. And I thought for sure that this so-called present from her father was going to play some kind of role in the story. It was going to either provide some kind of explanation or a solution to her problem, but it never shows back up in the story. Never it never comes back to that point. We never see her talk to her father again. She never gets any birthday present. That whole thing was just forgotten about. So I was a bit confused by that. I really thought that was going to play some kind of role in the story. But yeah, I don't know. I was a little bit confused by that. One other thing too that I also forgot to mention is I did kind of predict who the culprit was in here. The explanation behind everything, I kind of saw it coming, just based on what I know about R.L. Stine and how he writes his stories. I've read so many of these at this point that I can usually predict, at least to some degree, how things are going to turn out. And I was correct in my predictions, but that still didn't really make it make sense, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, overall, this book was just okay. It kind of evens out. It had some things I really liked about it, but in the end, it just left me feeling like it wanting more. This book just left a lot to be desired. So, yeah, that's my review for My Name is Evil. About 2.5 stars for this one. Let me know what you thought of this book if you've read it. And I've almost completed my Nightmare Room collection now. I only have a couple more books I need to get, and once I do, I'll continue doing more reviews of these, and I will do a ranking of the series in the near future. So keep on the lookout for that. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.